Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight in marketing, advertising, public relations. My guest today is Lisa Matthews. She's the Vice President of Media Relations for Hager Sharp, and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Anthony.
Yeah, no problem. So usually I ask my guests where they went to college. So where did you go to school?
I attended James Madison University here in Northern Virginia.
So let's just go back in time and go through how did you end up picking James Madison University? What was the process? When did you start thinking about college? Was it freshman year, senior year of high school? How did it all start?
Well, JMU was a very popular school at Osborne Park. I attended Osborne Park in Manassas, and everybody wanted to go to JMU, either JMU or Virginia Tech. And I initially wanted to major in music, but my mom told me absolutely not. I ended up majoring in broadcast journalism. When I was a sophomore in high school, I basically decided that I wanted to replace Dan Rather. So I majored in broadcast journalism and really enjoyed myself at JMU. I worked at a radio station just off campus, WMRA, where I anchored. It's a national public radio affiliate. Had a really good experience there and learned a lot.
Wow, that's fantastic. So did it start freshman year of high school when you started thinking about all this or
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, the colleges were very popular, and it was something that everybody talked about around school, around the hallways. You know, where are you going to go to college? What are you going to do later? So I knew all along that I wanted to go to JMU. It was definitely in my heart from the start. And I
oh,
was also very fortunate because James Madison had and I think they still do have a minority summer program where you can go and check out campus over the summer before you even go to college.
oh,
So I
fantastic.
was able to participate in that as well.
Great. So now you're at school and you want to become the next Dan Rather. So what classes do you start taking when you're at the college?
Oh yeah. I took everything. I took News Writing 101, which I recommend for everybody, no matter what you're majoring in, especially nowadays, because everybody needs to know how to write short and tight. You know, I think that even for folks who write for newspapers these days, they need to know how to write short and tight because all of that material is going out across different platforms.
Yeah.
So that 800 word story that you see that they used to write for newspapers is now showing up on mobile, and you have to be able to write for the platform. So I definitely recommend it, even across different business levels. As an executive, you need to know how to write short and tight, get to the point. So I really credit that News Writing 101 class. Um, what else did I take? I can't think now, but I took broadcast. There was a broadcast class that taught you how to cut video. We were really ahead of our time at JMU because they have a state-of-the-art television studio on campus.
Okay.
So we were doing lots of video editing. I did a lot of editing for the radio station I worked at. So doing all of that in addition to your regular math classes, which I was horrible at, Spanish, so you can speak a little bit Espanol and all of that good stuff. So all of those classes came in handy, and I didn't think I would be using everything that I learned,
Right.
but um, as you and I have discussed, I switched careers because after I graduated, I ended up going into grad school, and I worked in retail before I managed to get a job, get a full-time gig in my field.
Well,
Took a lot.
that was my next question is how did you go from college to where you are today? What was the process that you took?
Oh
Um,
my goodness.
so
So after I graduated, I had actually been working the summers at IKEA. and they held my job for me. So when I got out, I ended up coming back as a cashier, and then I was promoted to be cash office manager, and I was still going to graduate school. I left there. I went to Victoria's Secret, where I managed a store. I went to the Gap, where I managed the store, and I'm still working on my master's degree and praying to get a job in the business. And I was volunteering at WETA,
Wow.
and public television station. So it just so happened one day when I was working at the Gap, a gentleman walked in and he had a Magic 102.3 baseball cap on. And he was looking for a size 11 shoe. And he was with a woman. And I went to her and I said, does he really work for Magic 102.3? And she said, yes, he does. So I went over to him and I said, sir, how can I help you? And he goes, oh, I want the shoe. And I'm like, okay, we're out of stock, but I can get it for you if you get me an interview with the news director at Magic 102.3. And he looked at me and he said, are you bribing me? And I said, I absolutely am. So long story short, I got him the shoes. He got me the job interview. I went there and I started anchoring in the mornings, rewriting newscasts, and sitting in on both the AM station and the FM station.
Wow.
So, and from there, one of the hosts introduced me to a friend of his who worked at National Public Radio.
Okay.
And she introduced me to a person who worked on another show at NPR who knew somebody who was starting a radio startup that wanted to compete with Associated Press.
Okay.
So I went to a dinner, I met the director, I submitted my application, I gave them my resume, I took a writing test, and lo and behold, I was hired at a place called Standard Radio Network, which is now Salem Radio Network. They were bought out several times.
Wow.
And I went through quite a bit while I was there. I learned a lot. We did digital editing back then. I had progressed from cutting tape, like literally like reel to reel tape, to digital editing in like a span of like no time at all, like maybe 3 months time from
Wow.
leaving college to ending up getting a job and learning digital editing. So that was a great experience for me. And shortly thereafter, I ended up at the Associated Press. There was some change back and forth at Standard News, and I got nervous and I applied for a job at AP, and I got the job. And
Wow.
I worked there for about 20 years. I held many different roles while I was there. I started off as an in-house reporter and a writer for the Broadcast Wire. And from there, I moved on to be an all news radio editor and a radio newsroom supervisor. And circumstances led one to another, and I became a planning editor. And lots of things changed in the world of news. I mean, as you know, when you look at news now, news is more like infotainment.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of information, very little bit of information, and a lot of entertainment.
Yes.
And I was getting tired of not, doing the news thing. And I decided I wanted to do something different. So that was when I applied to work for Hager Sharp. They had an opening, and I made my way over here.
Great. And so now at Hager Sharp, what exactly does Hager Sharp do?
Well, Hager Sharp is a social marketing agency. It's all about behavior change for us. We work for education and healthcare concerned clients. Our clients range from the Department of Education to the Office on Women's Health at the Department of Health and Human Services, to quite a few others. I mean, we work with the National Diabetes Education Program. And basically, what we do for them is marketing. We do message development for the clients, content development. In my role, I train folks to be spokespeople. I work with them on presentation skills and what have you.
Wow.
So
So,
it's a lot of fun, but I got to tell you that, you know, to get into this role, I had to know someone, and it's one of those things where the more people you know, the better.
yeah,
Um, if you increase your networks, whether that's on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on Twitter, if you tweet at someone to let them know that you're interested in what they're doing, and then they become a follower and you get to, direct message with them, you create relationships. It's all about relationship building in
yeah,
this business. Whereas when I was in news, I was kind of like I held the keys to entry to
yeah.
some degree. I was the planning editor, so you had to go through me to get your person on the air.
Ah,
Okay. I worked with a team of editors to decide what made the news that day. Whereas here, I'm on the opposite side and I'm trying to convince the folks who are in news and convince stakeholders and people in the community that the message of my client is very important, not only for their general health or for the betterment of our community, but in some cases for their pocketbook.
right.
So, yeah, that's a
And
lot of what I.
and is there budgets that they give you? Is that how it all starts?
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a budget that we work within. We work within parameters for all of our clients to give them the level of service that they're looking for. Yeah,
Gotcha.
and we go after those and go after certain contracts so that we can provide a certain level of service for them.
So now, just to bring it into the college realm, what type of classes do students have to take to get into public relations or media or anything like that? What are some of the classes that you remember when you were in school? I know you're a communications major, but I'm assuming some of the other classes were, because they all coincide. Public relations and marketing and communications. It's all together
Pretty
as
much
one
the
almost.
same. Yeah, it's all pretty much the same thing. I mean, you need journalism 101, a marketing class doesn't hurt. A business class is very important. It's something that I wish I would have taken because I'm encountering that I need to understand and work on and develop budgets,
Hmm.
which frankly I did not learn a lot about. So I'm still kind of learning as I go.
Yeah,
Because in my world, it's completely editorial for me and making decisions about not only what the story is, but who's going to cover it, how it should be covered, and then the bottom line of what the script looks like, what it sounds like when it goes out on the air.
yeah,
And now you do more of a full service thing for clients. You need to provide a really good budget, a smart plan, and you need to help the client define what success means for them before you move forward on anything.
yeah,
So, yeah, you definitely need like a journalism 101. You need a business course. You need a marketing course. You need interpersonal communication skills, which, I think a lot of young people today, because they're busy on their iPhones and iPads, they don't develop the interpersonal skills that they need, those interpersonal communication skills,
yes.
how to have direct eye contact, just how to engage with someone in person, which is really, really key to building relationships and developing a business relationship.
Yeah.
Um,
So now, how about networking in college? Did you do extracurricular activities in college? Is that how you got some of the networking that you got?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I was class president at JMU my senior year. You got to do it. I mean, you got to get out there. You got to make it your plan to get to know people.
Hmm.
Um, I wish I would have known about some of the organizations that I found out about after I left school. And I highly recommend that students who are in college join organizations like IABC, um, National Association of Black Journalists, Society of Professional Journalists, the Radio Television News Directors Association. You should join all of those groups, and you join them now while you're in college because the rate is cheap. They have it a student rate, so you can actually afford it, and maybe your parents can write it off on their taxes. But it's very beneficial because it not only lets you know about potential job opportunities and internship opportunities, but it just gets you engaged with that community so that when you're ready and you want to apply for a job, you know the names of people that you can reach out to.
Yeah. Now, how does you bringing up internships? How does internships work at a place like Hager Sharp? Do they utilize internships?
Yes, we absolutely do. And it is a paid internship, and you do actually get the title of fellow. So you would be a Hager Sharp fellow, but you do the same work that an account coordinator would do. Working on PowerPoints, you participate in client meetings, you work in brainstorms with teams, you do everything. And it's no different. It's great training for your run up to getting a full-time job. And the thing about it is that we have lots of folks here at Hager Sharp who were fellows and who are now working for us full-time.
Wow.
So it's a great way to get a full-time job.
And when do usually college students start applying? Is it their sophomore year, junior year? When do they start?
Sophomore year, for sure.
Sophomore year. And do they apply to a lot of different internships? Is that something that college students are doing? Do you think?
They should. They should apply for a lot of different ones. And I would say look for the paid ones. There are lots of them out there.
Okay.
And if you can't get one that's directly in your field, look for ones that are outside of your field. Because the bottom line is that any potential employer is looking for a well-rounded individual. So you could explain during the course of an interview, well, yeah, I did this internship just because I had an interest in it. Not necessarily because I wanted to turn it into a business, but because I had an interest in it.
Yeah.
And employers like the fact that you're interested in doing something that is broader than where they stand, because they could potentially use you as a gateway to new business for them.
Yeah. So now, what is the difference that a student gets if they take an unpaid internship compared to a paid internship? Is it just because they get paid, or are they doing the same thing? What's the difference?
You're doing the same thing. You're just not getting paid. I recommend the paid internships, but volunteering, there's so many benefits to volunteering. It's beneficial to the community you're serving. It's beneficial to you because you're learning, you're experiencing, you're engaging. And that's really what it's all about, right? You need to engage with different people so that doors are open for you down the road. So don't turn away an unpaid internship. Please don't get me wrong on that. I'm just saying that a paid internship is really, really, truly beneficial. I know at the Associated Press, when I was there, they have a fantastic internship program where you are there for the entire summer. Sometimes, depending on the location of your school, you could be there into the fall, into the winter of the year, and they will keep you on.
Wow. And
you actually get to go cover stories, you bylines, you shoot video, because you're a multi-faceted journalist now. You're shooting video, you're writing the story, you're doing the whole nine.
Yeah.
So I guess what I mean to say is that any internship is valuable, but I would look for those paid internships because they're helpful. College is expensive, right?
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
You need money.
So now, when you were in college, you took a different path to where you are today. Do you see that with a lot of students when they go to school and they pick that particular field?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, some of the younger folks who worked in the newsroom with me at AP, they had majors in history, majors in psychology, and
Wow.
somehow or another they end up working in a broadcast news operation. But they had a secondary interest. I mean, my minor in college was political science. I am a political dog. Right now, I am truly missing being in news full time with the Trump Clinton rivalry happening right now.
Sure.
But it's totally not unheard of to have someone. In fact, I worked with a young lady who worked on a farm before she came to the AP, but
Wow.
she had a strong background in writing, okay, and she was a naturally inquisitive individual, and the manager who hired her saw a benefit in having someone who had this experience beyond your typical experience, your typical book experience.
So now, when students are graduating from college and they're looking at jobs, internships, or jobs at a place like Hager Sharp or the AP or anything like that, what are they looking for in students? Because a lot of students are always asking, well, they're always looking for experience, but I'm just getting out of college.
Right. Well, I mean, that's why you need to have that internship, and that's why you need to be volunteering. Any work that you do, whether it's paid or not, whether it has something directly to do with your intended field, is valuable to place on your resume,
Mhm.
because again, it shows a potential employer your interest in working in the first place. It shows them your potential abilities down the road in other situations. And I know I have heard this from young people whom I help with their resumes today, that, oh, I was told I don't have enough experience. And when I encourage young people, when they hear that from potential employers, to ask them, put the ball back in their court and say, how can I get the experience that I need to work for you? Can I come back and volunteer to do something with you to increase the level of experience that I do have? Don't just let them say that and leave you hanging.
Right.
Put the ball back in their court,
Yeah.
because 9 times out of 10, they know somebody who might have something available that you can do. Even if they don't, they know their competitors do. And at that stage, you start that relationship with that person. I don't mean to, shouldn't hound them, but definitely go back at them and say, well, what can I do?
Yeah.
Or is there something that you can show me, or can I talk to you down the road about, I really want to increase my chances of working for a company like yours down the road. So yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. So we're coming to the end of the show, and usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to the parents out there that their sons or daughters are looking into getting into public relations, media, communications, marketing, that type of field? What advice do you want to give to those parents?
To the parents. Yeah. Well, encourage your kids. They they need they need lots of encouragement from parents at this stage, because they're going to be hearing no a lot, and you don't have enough. You're not quite what we're looking for. So you're going to need to be there for them a lot, to explain to them that they can do it, to the students that they can do it. Um, and I would also encourage parents to, you know, those parents have jobs now. So why not look for an opportunity for your kid to come in and do something at your job, at your workplace, that could potentially help them get a job. And over the summer, I mean, if they've saved up money and they want to go travel, if your kid wants to go travel and they've got these big ideas, you know, let them do it, because that looks really good on a resume that, oh, I spent a summer in London, and I took a class at, XYZ school, and I learned this, and again, it may not necessarily have anything to do with being in public relations or being in news, but it's a fantastic experience. And so that tells me as a potential employer that this person doesn't mind getting outside of themselves, getting outside of the box, thinking outside of the box. Is their adventure is that they potentially speak another language, that kind of.
Great.
So yeah.
Good. Thank you very much, Lisa. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.